Well, hello everybody, my name is Roger and welcome to my channel, Rogers Reads. So today I'm doing another book review, and the name of the book I'm doing is A Girl in the Tower by Katherine Arden. This is the second book in the Winter Night trilogy, with the first book being The Bear and the Nightingale, and the story takes place in the mid-14th century. I actually listened to this book on Audible and the narration was phenomenal. I really loved it. So, as always with my book reviews, I will break it into the synopsis of the story, what I liked about it, what I didn't like, and my final verdict. So, the story. So the Girl in the Tower picks up shortly after the events of the first book, The Bear and the Nightingale. Vasya is on the run after being accused of being a witch and is cast out by her village. So Vasya takes off on her trusty stallion Solovey to see the world, a thirst for adventure in her blood. Now, given that during this time period it was practically unheard of for a maiden to go exploring on her own, Vasya disguises herself as a boy for protection. But she soon learns that the world is not without its cruelties as she stumbles upon village after village which has been burned down by bandits, many of the occupants of the village murdered and the young daughters stolen away. So Vasya eventually ends up in Moscow on the doorstep of her sister Olga and her brother Sasha, the monk. Now she plans to stay for only a short time in fear that her masquerade may endanger her siblings, but she inadvertently ends up catching the attention of her cousin Dmitri, who happens to be the Grand Prince of Moscow. So Dmitri is actually quite captivated by the brave and fearless young man that named Vasily, who he believes Vasya to be, all of which puts her, Olga's, and Sasha's lives in danger, as well as thrusts Vasya in the midst of political intrigue and treachery. Then there's also a new mysterious lord, Kostyan Lutovich, who seems to have taken a particular interest in Vasya, and she must now determine whether he's friend or foe. So soon, she's caught up in an intricate web of lies and deception while carefully guarding the secret of her true gender and attempting to remain in Dmitri's good graces. Now this proves even more difficult than she could have imagined once she learns that there is a new evil force threatening her cousin's kingdom, and she is the only one who can stop it. So on to what I liked about the book. Well, like the first book, I adored Vasya's character. I loved how she left her village with nothing and ended up falling in the good graces of the Prince of Moscow and becoming known to the people as a brave and fearless hero. Her strength, cunning, and bravery are truly admirable in the story, and it was a treat watching her grow and develop into the strong, powerful, spirited, and feisty woman she has become by the end of the second book. Now, I clearly got the feeling that Vasya was no longer a child, and in this book, we're introduced to Vasya the adult. So this was especially evident in her reunion with Olga and Sasha. It was nice to see the three of them together as adults, and it pleased me that after being alone and on her own for so long, that Vasya was once again surrounded by the love and support of her family, even though they didn't always see eye to eye. So what really resonated with me was the feminist statement the book made about the role of women in society. So in this world, women had two choices: marriage, or if she couldn't find anybody to marry her, the convent. This was a world in which women have no say, women did not ride horses, women certainly did not go out on adventures, women did not dream about bettering themselves, women did not complain, and women often didn't even leave the building, as was the case with Olga. So the role of the woman was to bear her husband an heir and to manage the household. And here we have Vasya, a fiercely independent woman who ignores all of these conventions of society and decides to live life on her own terms, no matter what the ultimate cost might be to her. So in this way, she is indeed a courageous and admirable character. I also loved watching the evolution of Vasya's relationship with Morosko, the frost demon, and her sassy magical-based stallion Solove, who she can actually speak with. Now, to my delight, Morosko, the frost demon, also known as the Winter King or the Russian Death God, plays a much bigger part in this novel than he did in the first. And the scenes between him and Vasya were some of the most emotionally intense and heart-wrenching in the book. We also learned quite a bit more about Morosko, his origins and his complicated role in Vasya's life. I also once again enjoyed the supernatural aspect of the story and seeing Vasya's interaction with the various spirits in the book, which some of them help when things become dire. In addition to Morosko's larger-than-life presence in certain scenes of the novel, we also have a tortured ghost, we have a sorcerer, we have a firebird, and several domovoi, which were the local spirits and beings that we were introduced to in the first novel. And the world building in this book was phenomenal. I could almost taste the food that the characters enjoyed at the feast and feel the frosty chill of the cruel Russian winter upon my bare skin. Although it wasn't too much of a stretch to imagine that, given that I live in Wisconsin in the middle of January. But the gorgeous descriptions and details in the book are vivid and lush, resulting in a truly atmospheric novel that's moody, immersive, and alive. So, on to what I didn't like about the novel. You know, again, I'm really hard-pressed to come up with anything that I disliked about this story. My only real niggle was that I would have liked to have learned more about Koshchei the Deathless, who happens to be the villain in our story. My knowledge of Russian folklore lacks a little bit in this department, so a little more backstory of this character would have been helpful in understanding his role in the story. I would have liked to have known more about his motivations and his reasons for doing what he did, which I felt were absent. There were also a couple of scenes in which Vasya acted way more immature than her years, which wasn't consistent with her portrayal in the rest of the book, and her treatment of others often had a bit to be desired, especially in regards to Morosko. Now, I felt that her excessive harshness toward the frost demon was mostly unwarranted and undeserved, especially considering everything that he's done for her up to this point and how many times he stepped in and saved her life. So on to my final verdict. The vivid descriptions and thrilling storytelling resulted in an immersive and enchanting story. Arden managed to expertly infuse fascinating historical facts with fantastical elements, giving us a spellbinding tale of political intrigue and uprisings, dark magic, deadly bandits, fantastical creatures, religious extremism, adventure, betrayal, and the dangers of hubris. But moreover, the author gives us a brave, kick-ass, and undoubtedly flawed heroine to save the day. A character you can't help but fall in love with. We see how the fate of an entire country rests in the hands of a young girl who, without even realizing it, steps into the boots of a warrior. So all in all, The Girl in the Tower is an enthralling tale of folklore and magic with characters that are vivid and wonderfully rendered, and I absolutely loved it. And I can't wait to read the final book in this bewitching series. And I actually was approved for an arc of the final copy, the final book, which I'm going to start any day now, so you'll see a review for that in the coming weeks, most likely. So that is it for my review of The Girl in the Tower. As always, I thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate all of your support. And if you like this video, I'd really appreciate it if you click the like button below, as that really helps me out. And that is it for now. I will talk to you in the next video. Roger and out.